Hey everybody, it's your buddy Mike Messier. I'm here on a special Saturday afternoon. I wanted to address certain topics of request from subscribers and a few things that I wanted to get to and just haven't gotten to. So I want to thank everyone who has been subscribing, and please, the best thing you can do to help me is to share the video links on your social media. Now, you don't have to share all of them. Share the ones you want to, but share something. It does help, and I do appreciate it. And for those that have been purchasing my novel, A Distance from Avalon, When the Dying and the Dead Reunite, a special thanks. I know Jay Baca got his autographed copy. I know others have been ordering through Amazon, which is great. Whatever you do, it's a good book too. It's not like you're just buying a fucking piece of junk. It's a good book. So I did have a request from Carl. Carl's been contributing about once a month. Carl will do a special chat with me, Mike. We did the WrestleMania 2. We've done some horror film lists and so forth. And Carl wanted me to watch the trailer for the film Mirrors. Now, if I've got the right one, Carl, it was from about 2008, 2009. It had, I believe it was Kiefer Sutherland, correct? And I always get Kiefer Sutherland and James Spader mixed up because they're similar dudes in some way, but I'm pretty sure this is Kiefer. And Amy Smart and another attractive actress who appeared to play Kiefer's character's wife in this film, and they seem to have a child. And so basically the movie is a horror film. It seems to be about like mirrors. That's the whole idea of the movie, is that when you look in the mirror or a reflection in the water or something, you get possessed, or you see like a demon side to yourself, or you see like your soul being torn inside out. So, you know, I don't think I saw this film, Carl. Like, I don't think I saw it in the theater or whatever the fuck. I mean, did we have streaming in 2009? I don't think so. It was probably like 2009 was probably like the 1 or 2 years where Blu-ray was a big thing, if it was. And I don't know why Blu-ray never really took off as big as people thought it should have. Blu-rays are a high quality material, fucking platform. You put a lot of material on a Blu-ray disc, but they just never took off as much as DVDs. Maybe the price point was just a little too high for people. They still make Blu-rays. I still like Blu-rays. I recently purchased a Blu-ray disc for my friend's sister, who she turned 40, so I bought her the film This Is 40 and had eBay send it to her. So on and so forth. But the point is, I don't know what to say about Mirrors, except if I had known about this movie at the time, I probably would have seen it, Carl. I did kind of dig it. I saw some people in the comments on YouTube making points about the actor. I feel bad now because I wrote his name down, of course, on a different piece of paper. I just came outside, and I'm not going to go back inside to get the name. But the young man, unfortunately, who was the child actor in that film, passed away. And I guess he had a really pretty packed life, and he died at age 20. I want to guess his name was like Cameron Boyce. Does that sound about right? I apologize to him and to his family and friends and followers and fans if I got his name wrong. But it seemed like he had a pretty loaded life, and he died, unfortunately, the young man in this movie, of a epilepsy attack or epilepsy seizure related symptoms that killed him at a young age. So that's sad, although I was looking at his life, and it seemed like he raised $27,000 for a charity in 1 month, and he had a pretty damn good life while he had it. So credit to him. And this film, like I said, had I known about it at the time, I definitely would have liked that movie in the theater. It looked good. Amy Smart, an actress who, oddly enough, had a short film, that was an Avalonia Festival 4, the film festival that I basically run. Amy Smart was in a film that was in my festival, so I am a fan of hers, and that was quite good. Now moving forth, I don't remember the name of the short film off the top of my head, but it didn't win an award. Some other things, I did do a review last night of this new movie, The Unholy. I had a further thought, which I forgot to mention. Some of the Boston accents in The Unholy were typical Hollywood bad Boston accents, as in not genuine, like not good, not realistic. Like, just there's a way that, and in this case it's really bad because it's the guy from the fucking Princess Bride, like Carrie Oodles or whatever the fuck his name is. He was in Glory, he was in the Princess Bride. I just moved. I needed a little more privacy. There was too much human traffic around me. Not human trafficking, just people walking around. There wasn't like a human trafficking scandal going on near me. I'm trying to get to this tree if this vehicle would get the hell out of my way. A person driving with their mask on. I'm not going to judge. At least they have a mask. So here's the thing. What did I think of this movie? The Curry Ools who played the fucking guy in The Princess Bride, not the princess, not Robin Wright, but the, you know, the lover, the romance guy, or whatever the fuck his name is. What do I think? His Boston accent was very forced. I'll give myself credit. I recognized him. I mean, we all get older, and this Carrie Ools or whatever the fuck, he's certainly older, like we all are. But I recognized him, and he's still a great actor. It's just, you know, this guy who is English or whatever he is, Scottish or Irish, and he's trying to do a Boston accent. It's just, it feels very forced and very exaggerated and very self-conscious. That's the thing with a Boston accent, is that you can't force it. You either have it or you don't. I'd rather have an actor in a movie who's supposed to be a character from Boston just not do the Boston accent, because believe it or fucking not, there's many people in Boston that don't have Boston accents. It's not like you're born saying, "Go, go, gaga, motherfucker." You know what I mean? You know, like the baby doesn't come out and say, "Hey, doctor, stick your hand up your ass. Don't slap me with it." Some people are just not born with the fucking Boston accent. And they never acquire it, even if they live there. So it's just unfortunate that, you know, if you want to call it the Hollywood film machine or whatever the fuck it is, they feel the need that every goddamn character from Boston has to be genuine with a stupid fucking accent. Of course, they could actually hire local Boston actors if they wanted genuine Boston people, but they never do. They hire someone with name, quality, and value, like a Carrie Ools, blah, blah, blah. And his accent just sucked. So there you have it. Other thoughts. People, once again, it's hard for me to be a wrestling fan at times because there's so much poor misinformation or misquoting of information. And so a thing about a month ago was Tully Blanchard comes out of retirement to wrestle. And what people were saying, the Wrestle Talk guys, AEW themselves, everyone's saying, "Oh my God, it's Tully's first match since 1989. Fucking wrong, idiots. Because AEW is saying that, and I'm not sure where they got their information, except to say he left the WWF or was fired in 1989. Well, shit for brains. He went over to AWA, American Wrestling Association, where his father, Joe Blanchard, was there for a period of time as like the president, I guess a storyline president, and maybe helping Old Man Vern out. And Tully wrestled in the AWA in early 1990. Then, guess what? Slamboree, 1994, Tully Blanchard was there to wrestle Terry Funk. Okay? And yes, he was not at Slamboree 93 to be part of the Four Horsemen. You know, that's the infamous Paul Roma thing. Interesting, I just see this fucking mailbox is detached. That's a little scary. But basically, there he was, Tully Blanchard, to wrestle at Slamboree 94 against Terry Funk. Now, that's not 1989, that's 1994. Okay, so you might be saying, well, that was just AWA, or that was just a few matches. Well, he wrestled, I believe, all the way going forth, I think it was 1995, when he wrestled Shane Douglas in ECW. A couple of matches, or one match. They had like a 30-minute draw. I believe it was 1995. So this whole lie that Tully Blanchard hasn't wrestled since 1989 is in fact a lie. I believe at that Legends of Wrestling pay-for-fucking-view, that you know, that's known mostly for Jake Roberts being drunk or high or whatever the fuck. I believe Tully Blanchard wrestled Sweet Stan Lane in a one-on-one match. And what year was that? 1998. So the point is, folks, I just don't like it when people claim to know things and they don't know them. Because I saw that on AEW, I saw that on Wrestle Talk. Get your fucking facts straight. You know what I mean? Or don't claim to know things you don't know. And then, of course, when assholes and idiots get things wrong, their whole defense is, oh, yeah, well, okay, you've been watching wrestling forever. Well, shit for brain. There's also goddamn Google. There's fucking websites with information. It doesn't take rocket scientists. And then the next line of defense from these aforementioned idiots is to say, oh, it's only wrestling. Well, what happens when you get your information wrong about the Civil War or World War II or the Renaissance or COVID or anything? If you can't get simple wrestling facts straight, like when a guy retired from wrestling, how can you be trusted to tie your own shoes? You know what I mean? I mean, if it's that difficult for you to know that Tully Blanchard was wrestling into 1998, how can I help you further? I mean, trying to help these idiots and morons. What the fuck else? Okay, so a friend of mine, he wants me to do a private video about DMX, and I guess DMX is not in good shape right now. And look, I wish him the best. I don't know that much information about DMX, but when I looked up his songs, I definitely knew his song. I'll be honest, I was getting a little confused between DMX's stuff and 50 Cent in the club. But I looked up DMX, it's like, oh yeah, Rough Riders, and he had some great stuff. I mean, I don't know about the guy's personal life or his history. I did see a clip of him doing like a Bible study thing online a year ago or during COVID. Seemed like he was a nice guy, or at a point of his life of being a nice guy. I don't know if he was a nice guy forever, but I'm telling you, that Rough Riders song, whenever that came out, was it like 98 or something? That song was everywhere all the time. And it was a couple of years later, from my memory, that 50 Cent kind of blew up, as they say. But DMX, to me, I could be wrong, the way I remember it, he was like the first kind of big rapper with a street vibe, as they say, after Tupac was killed. Like, he kind of, to me, and I could be wrong, and I'm not trying to put generalities on anybody, but DMX, the Rough Riders theme, it had like it was like late 90s, early 2000s. I'm gonna say like right at 2000. And didn't DMX, was that DMX that had like all the blood, like the flesh of my flesh, blood of my blood? Am I getting this right? I really hope I'm not confusing him with 50 Cent or 50 Cent. But I think it was DMX that had all the blood all over him, and the flesh of my flesh, blood of my blood, and the fucking. And I just watched the goddamn Rough Riders video, and it's good. I mean, it's pretty good shit. And like the rap, the words in the rap are not particularly profound, or it's not exactly Bob Dylan, but it's good. It's catchy. You know what I mean? It's got a hook. So I don't know what to say, except I wish him the best. I tried to encourage my friend who claims to have a personal relationship with DMX. I said, look, come on, Mike Messier, we'll do a tribute. And of course my friend says, oh, we'll see how it plays out. Well, what the hell does that mean? So I don't sit around and wait. I do things when I want to do them. What the fuck else? Okay. I did want to mention, and I feel bad, a couple of weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks, 4 weeks, a month ago, Butch Reed, the pro wrestler, passed away. And I literally was like in a spot where I was going to do this tribute video, and then it started to rain. And I had this whole like video in my mind, and I just didn't do it for Butch Reed, or the natural Butch Reed, one half of Doom. Great wrestler, Mid-South, UWF. Well, I guess he was more of the Mid-South guy. He wasn't around when they went to UWF, but he was in the Florida territory. He was big in this area, Jacksonville, Florida. He was Eddie Graham promoted Butch Reed a lot, a top challenger to Ric Flair, and a lot of people remember him from Doom, or remember the Natural. He appeared at WrestleMania 3, I think he just missed WrestleMania 2. I think he was at WrestleMania 3, and I want to say Butch Reed was in the Battle Royal. No, he wasn't. He was in the title tournament. He was one of the people, I believe, that Macho Man Savage beat in the first round at WrestleMania 4. So Butch Reed was a player. There's a famous story that Butch could have been the first African-American Intercontinental Champion of the WWF way back in 1987. And apparently he like missed the show or something. So that story's been kind of debated, but Butch seemed to think it's true. He could have been the IC champion, which would have been interesting. I did enjoy the Honky Tonk Man's Intercontinental title run. That was it's kind of a fun run. But you know, just how history could have changed. But Butch, to me, his peak years are a lot of material that I haven't watched as much as I'd like to, which is Mid-South. Basically, Butch Reed is a heel and a baby face in the Mid-South territory, working with Junkyard Dog, Ted DiBiase, Hacksaw Duggan. They had a whole big thing, Hacksaw Butch Reed versus Hacksaw Duggan. You know, I think they went back and forth with babyface and heel in that. Butch Reed, I think, was allowed to be himself in Mid-South, like really appreciated by Bill Watts, the promoter, for who he was and what he could do as an athlete. I believe, didn't Butch play football for the, I want to say Kansas City Chiefs? Like, wasn't he literally on the football team or tried out? I think he played professional football for a couple of years. So Butch was just a badass. Just, was he southpaw? Was he left-handed? I think I remember something like that. But Butch was just one of the boys, you know, like I say in my Ox Baker story, one of the boys. Butch was really pretty phenomenal, and the team, we didn't think of it at the time, but it was kind of like he was the veteran and Ron Simmons was the younger guy in that tag team of Doom. And it was a great tag team that had all those wonderful matches with the Steiners. And of course, if you're familiar with the Steiners tag team and how physical they were and how, you know, stiff or stug, however you want to say it, you have to realize that it took like some really top guys, meaning Ron Simmons and Butch Reed, to handle those guys, to keep up with them physically and not be bullied around and make it look credible. So, I mean, I think of all the tag teams that the Steiners fought, there's probably only 3 that held up with them, and it's Gordy and Doc, the Road Warriors, and they only really wrestled that one match at Starrcade 89, and then of course in 1996 they had some matches. That's the Road Warriors against the Steiners I'm talking about. But by 96, none of those guys were the same as in 89 for that one match. And Doom, Ron Simmons and Butch Reed, both with the masks, and Woman and Teddy Long without the mask. And the Doom won the tag team titles, and they had them for a nice 10 months. And I mean, if you look at that roster of WCW tag teams in 1990 into 91, you had the Steiners, you had the Young Pistols, Tracy Smothers and Scott Armstrong, you had the Fabulous Freebirds variant of Garvin and Hayes. And so, you know, wouldn't you say that of all those great tag teams, you know, Butch Reed and Ron Simmons were not only holding their own, but holding the belts. I mean, and that's very impressive in my book, because the Skyscrapers, you know, Spivey and Sid, and then Spivey and Mean Mark Callis, who'd become The Undertaker. When you really look at the Doom tag team title run going 10 months, the Rock and Roll Express. I mean, if you want to see a great tag team match at Butch Reed's, watch the Great American Bash 1990, we all know it for Sting versus Flair, but watch the Butch Reed and Ron Simmons Doom versus the Rock and Roll Express. And also, I wanted to make point of this because I do feel that Butch's best work is in the UWF, but I just don't have a singular match to guide you to. But for a Clash of the Champions 13 Thanksgiving Thunder singles match, Ric Flair versus Butch Reed. And I'm not going to give away anything, except to tell you that if it tempts you further, Arn Anderson's at ringside, and Ron Simmons and Teddy Long are all at ringside. But watch the show. There's a lot of wrestlers that you probably like on that Thanksgiving Thunder. The fun things with the Clash of Champions were that some of the matches were quicker, and sometimes there was a lot of wrestlers on those Clash of Champions that weren't even like full-time WCW guys. They were guys getting tryouts. I remember Brian Lee, primetime Brian Lee, getting a match on that show once on the Clash of Champions. And sometimes they'd bring in like a Mil Mascaras or a Great Muta or somebody international. I think Antonio Inoki was once there to wrestle Steve Regal, I believe. So any effing way. Thanksgiving Thunder. I don't know if it's on Peacock or on if you can find it. It's the match itself is floating around somewhere on YouTube, but I don't want to give a bootleg link. But Clash of the Champions 13, Thanksgiving Thunder, November 20th, 1990, Ric Flair versus Butch Reed. Butch was, I was watching and give him credit, Hannibal. Hannibal, the fucking guy, the talking guy who does a lot of these shoot interviews. Butch was doing an interview with Hannibal, and he reminded me pretty much of my old buddy Ox Baker, just one of these ring lords, these wrestlers who, and I mean ring lord, just mean a lord of the ring, nothing about like a slumlord or something, just a wrestler who knew the business, and so on and so forth. And so, like I said, watch the 1990 Great American Bash, Butch and Ron versus the Rock and Roll. And if you want to watch singles, or watch them both, Ric Flair versus Butch Reed at that Clash of the Champions. I've been trying to do this video, and just all these cards and people are just in my space. They're not realizing the time that you and I have together, and they're not respecting my boundaries and my space. So I'm a little upset. Mike Messier, movie maker. Mike Messier, please subscribe to Mike Messier YouTube channel. But when I get 1,000 subscribers, I will be releasing a unbelievable amount of new footage from the archives. Special interest for old school ECW pro wrestling fans, but for anyone, if you get me, or when you get me to 1,000 subscribers, you're going to have a release of material so mind-blowing, you'll need to restrain yourself. So for all the Jay Bacas, the Chris Goldsmiths, the Carl Cates, the Johnny Z, who I've been debating with feverishly over world politics on Twitter, all these wonderful things, you can find me on Twitter at Mikey Messier, or subscribe to Mike Messier YouTube channel, I think is my Twitter name now, and so on and so forth. That's Mike Messier, your weekend report. Watch the videos, share the videos. We're not through this pandemic yet, folks, so make sure you mask up. Mike Messier, thank you very much for watching. Thanks for watching.